We're taught that clarity comes from choosing sides, or fixing problems, or forcing answers. But some of the deepest wisdom in some of the oldest traditions suggests the opposite. The clarity emerges when we stop trying to control life and start listening to it. I'm Justin Gates. Joining Michael and I today, is Prashanthi Amarnath, author of Embracing Paradox. Dive into a mystical adventure with the Tao Te Ching through 81 enchanting micro lessons. Welcome to the show today, you two. Thank you for joining me. Michael's always here, but I always like to acknowledge him and say thank you, Michael.
I appreciate the love.
I don't want him to think I forget about him. And to our special guest today, Prashanthi, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I'm so glad because I think I was just talking to you before recording about how I'm just an average Jane. So for an average Jane to have this kind of a platform to be out here and speaking my heart out is thank you for providing this platform for Janes like me to show up here just the way we are.
Of course, what's amazing the work you do and then be able to put yourself out there and sort of get the word out. I mean, that's what's important here. So we're glad we can be able to facilitate that for you.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I really appreciate this.
You're in definitely good company. We are average Joes ourselves. And I think that's what makes this work so well is because we actually care about the things we talk about. And I know that you care a lot about what you've written, and the topics we're going to talk about today are going to kind of center on your work. But what we're really talking about and what your book is really about is embracing these paradoxes of life, right? We have universal truth. We have our kind of messed up truths, each of us, but there are universal truths that do place paradoxes in our life. And you really have to love that to want to write about it, let alone talk about it. So
right. The paradoxes, everything is a paradox. The life itself is a paradox. Tao is a paradox. I mean, we're literally living the paradox. So it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. And I think our entire life purpose just goes in trying to figure out that element, that Tao or the consciousness or that super consciousness, the Brahman that's out there. This lifetime is just spent in just figuring out what that is. What is it? Like, is there something beyond what we see? Is there something more that we just perceive through our other senses? Like, how can I trust my other senses? Like my intuition, like how I can't go to a business meeting and say, my intuition says buy this stock. Like I can't say that. So I need to draw that
even
boundary.
If it's true, you can't say it. Yeah. Especially when it's true. Right?
So you got to draw that boundary somewhere, saying, okay, this I can go by my intuition, but these things I can't, but I can't talk about it openly in the world that don't get our language, because our language here is it's different than the language that's outside. So when I talk about intuition, when I talk about we'll get it done, I know it'll get done because I know it. I can't say that. It's like,
right. Which is crazy.
What is she
so
talking about?
Know it.
Yeah, right. She's gone crazy. Like she's gone nuts. Like what's she talking about? How is she gonna get this done? So they just don't. It's weird. It's really weird world out there.
It is, and it's a really fast world, and it's very complex. We've made it very difficult to do things. We've turned really simple things into super complex things, and for a lot of people, the world feels very uncertain. So the last thing that they want to see is a paradox, even though it's always there, as you said, right?
Yeah.
But it almost seems like
that is so true.
In this time and age, we're making way more decisions than ever before, and with no time to pause and less space to reflect on things and try to find that deeper intuition. And the constant pressure to have the answer right now, hurry up. Don't tell us about your intuition. Give me the answer, right? And that pace really starts to create burnout and a ton of anxiety and this really weird, bad juju inside that feels like we're always lacking or always behind.
Well, it's like you look at society nowadays, it's so ego-based. And I don't mean that, I do mean that in the sense that it is driven by ego. It's all about
Right.
material possession, status, and so much of our society has drifted away from the holisticness of life, rest, being able to connection, deep connection,
Yep.
vulnerability. These things are shunned in modern day society. It's one of these paradoxes, right? Is where we crave these things, but it's on such an unconscious level we can't even put it into context when it comes to living day to day until you get into this realm we're in.
Right. But don't you think that's the yang part of it, the yin and yang part of it? So
Yeah.
for the goodness to exist, the bad should also exist. So that's the
Yes.
whole concept of the Taoism, and then the yin and yang, and how everything balances out. So when we see an injustice, and when we see something that's going on that's wrong in the society, it's okay. It's okay. That needs to exist for the peace to exist. You always should have that. The backdrop is there. It's there, and that's what Taoism is all about. It's having that balance and accepting that, okay, this is reality. This is how it is going to be. It is bad. Bad has to exist, but there's also good. I know there's good because I know that it has to balance, and that inner knowing is what knowing Tao Te Ching and reading about Lao Tzu and going through that process and that kind of. I want to talk a little bit about the book, like how I came to write the book, how I wanted to like translate. So when I got this idea, I wanted to just translate the verses, like 81 verses. That's all the book's gonna have, like just a basic translation. I didn't even want to write more content. Like I just wanted to translate. And as I sat with each one of those verses, it took me on a road. I sat with it. Each verse just I had to process through it. And when I went through each of those and I started writing them in the journal, and that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to have these notes published, because it makes so much sense. It doesn't just make sense to read what that verse is. We need to talk a little bit more details into what the paradoxes are. And that's what Taoism, or Tao Te Ching is all about. It contains, it's got 81 paradoxes.
Mhm.
And it's about embracing them all and just being one with it. And embracing it all is, so in one of the verses, Lao Tzu says that the world, when the rain pours on the universe, it doesn't differentiate between good and bad. It pours for everyone. It pours as much as for a murderer as it pours for you and I, and for the great philosopher, for the gurus that live in the world. It's all the same. It doesn't differentiate. There is no good. There is no bad. It's all labeling. It's all human conditioning that we've gone through, that we look at everything and we label. Is it good? Is it bad? Oh, it's bad. It's good. It's so, but what Lao Tzu says is, why label them? There is no good. There is no bad. It all needs to exist. The only way to live is live authentically. Live what you truly want to do. And that should be our compass. And it shouldn't be hard. We should know what we want to do, what feels good or what feels right to do. Like when you said, I don't know, anyway, it's a very delicate process of just accepting everything for the way it is and trusting, this feels good to me, I'm going to follow this path and be authentic to myself.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because we're talking about the yang, but in the yin and yang must balance, must harmonize. But if we at the individual level are always trying to yang everything instead of allowing yin to enter, or we're trying to control everything, even the yang, then that creates problems for us, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit what brought you to the Tao.
Okay. It's an interesting story. I was at a crossroads in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was working very hard on my project, and I had to go to DC to make a presentation in front of a lot of people. And that night I got very sick. I couldn't get up get myself up to go to ER, and I had to get a help to help me. I was going through this process, and so I had a moment where something flashed in front. I've never heard of Tao Te Ching or Taoism before my life, ever before. I've not even heard. I've not heard of Lao Tzu. This was just a couple of years ago before I wrote this book. And when I had this flash, I was like, Tao Te Ching, I want to go research. And then I took my phone and started researching what Tao Te Ching was all about. And then I looked, it had 81 chapters, but what I understood was I wanted to like look at all of them and understand what Tao Te Ching was all about. I was very intrigued by it. And I did not have any plans on writing a book on Tao Te Ching. I wanted to understand what it was all about. And as I read through multiple translations, I felt like there was not one translation that was out there that resonated with what I understood from each of these verses. And as I sat through these verses and when I looked at the journals, they were very different as I was looking at other translations. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, it's the same. It's in English, but the translations are in English, the ones that I'm looking at, but they're all so different. How are they so different? So that's when you can't put Tao in a box. It's very hard. Tao is undefinable. No matter, there could be 1,000 people after me who would translate this work, and nobody would be able to capture this, what Tao is all about. You can't box it in words.
Right.
And inside a tiny human brain. Like there's
But you know what's
it's bigger, it's running universes, parallel verses. It's doing all that work, and we're just a speck of a dust, and we're here like worried about our emotions. It just feels kind of really I'm sorry, but it's so insignificant. Right?
Well, what's interesting about the Tao, I found it many years ago, and it's certainly helped, is part of the foundation that you see today. But to me, it seemed like it was all those things you said, but it also at the same time could be very grounding and very practical.
Yep.
Right?
Exactly.
If you learn not to overthink it, if you learn to surrender to its wisdom and understand that these things that we see in conflict really are just supposed to be working together. And to me, it's not really this abstract philosophy in the way a lot of people may imagine, right? I mean, they look at it and it's like there's these riddles and but it's, to me, it seems very grounded, very practical. It's really about learning how to move with reality instead of constantly trying to brace against it, maybe, because in its simplicity, it asks these real radical questions of us, right? It says, what happens when we stop forcing outcomes, right? When we just go with the flow. What happens when we learn to listen more than we push and try to control and create? Or what happens when alignment replaces that need to control?
Yep. Exactly. And I think that is where we have to let go, and surrender becomes a major part of all of this. You have to you have to trust. So it's very interesting because I was brought up in a family that embraced multi-faith. So we prayed, we celebrated Christmas, we celebrated Ramzan, we celebrated everything in our household. So I was very lucky to be born in that kind of environment, and it was my guru, Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who blessed me with this wisdom and knowledge where, is like all religion, all is one, just that's it, there's nothing more, just love all. He gave that very simple solution to everything, just love all. That's all there is. You just have to love. There's nothing more to it than love. In this world. So that really helped me shape my perception on on religion and philosophy, and I got very lucky because I don't have to deal with that drama that comes with who's better. I didn't have to deal with it, who's right, and I've accepted it. I crossed that big hurdle because that's also a hurdle now. That's around the world, everywhere, that my faith is bigger, better than
Yeah.
yours, and there's it's out there. It's unspoken, spoken. It's out there, but they're all one. We're all one. It's that truth that needs to be ingrained in us.
What's the 5 blind men and the elephant, right? Have you heard that story?
No, I
So
have
there
not.
are 5 blind men who are told to describe what is in front of them. And so
Okay.
one goes over and feels the foot of the elephant, and it's like a tree, and that's how he describes it. The next one grabs the ear, and it's like a leather blanket. The next one grabs the trunk, and it's more like a snake. But all of them are feeling the elephant. They're seeing the same thing, but they're perceiving it through what they can get their hands on. And religion
Absolutely.
is so much like that. It all is the same story, the same lessons, the same core. But we all try to defend which one is better and which one is right when it's all the messages in between. I think about Christianity. That's where I came from as well. And
Yeah.
it was so ingrained in me, the philosophy behind it. But I remember growing up and seeing all these other faiths and being like, well, this makes sense too. And this makes sense too. And why are these people condemned just because they don't believe what I believe? And that used to eat me alive because it's just like, that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah. And also people fight. They wage wars against for religion. I mean, isn't that just
Crazy.
it's crazy. It's crazy. But the mindset is that needs to change. And I think that's the Maya, that's the illusion that we all are living in, is the ego is we put ego up front, and that's what you said when you talked about the ego. It's you already surrendered to your ego. You're putting your ego on the forefront, and you're fighting for based on your faith. So, and that's what your faith basically says, take it off, and you're doing the same thing. And again, that needs to exist for this to exist, for the love that you guys spread, for this to exist. Something like that should exist. It's per law. So it's just a fact that accepting it. And I used to be someone that would go look at all kinds of news channels and hear about everything what's going on. This used to be me before I went through this journey with before I sat with the Tao Te Ching. But I used to be that kind of person, hyper vigilant, like what's going on, what's going to happen to me. It's just crazy. But now I'm completely detached from media, and I'm completely detached from people to an extent, because I want to kind of isolate myself. What I realized was when I was making more friends, as my friend circle and family circle would expand, what had happened is I would start pulling that drama into my life. And that's a hassle to where, I don't want drama. That's not what we intend to basically perform. we want to live authentically. I want to keep the drama off the plate as much as we could. So yeah, as I went through this process, I started losing friends, started living in isolation, and it was a long process that really it was very transformational.
Well, and there's this thing that's sort of unspoken when people start the healing journey, and it's like, as you start to, I'm going to use the word transcend because I don't have a better one right now, but as you start to move up, you hit this period of isolation because you don't resonate with your old friends, but you haven't created your spirit tribe yet. And it's this lonely period that I feel everyone on this journey goes through at some point in time. Because once you start getting to those higher elevations, I know Justin, he's someone who's there for me all the time. If I ever need him, he's there. But we're never a weight to one another because I'm there for him. But there's this reciprocity and lack of, like you said, drama. I love it. That's the perfect way to phrase it. It's very much, we're self-aware enough to have conversations about what we need and what's going on, and to give that support without overwhelming ourselves or being drowning in our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
There's something about ancient traditions and ancient wisdom that they tend to endure, not because they're old or they're flashy or fancy, but because they address patterns that really never change in human beings. They address these patterns in these moments that we all go through for all of time. And so that's why something like the Tao Te Ching is still very much relevant in this world, as fast and as crazy and as electronic as it has gotten. And so let's talk about embracing paradox. So we've already established that the Tao Te Ching is the foundational text of Taoism. But why is paradox such a central theme to Taoist wisdom?
so paradox is very important because we tend to swing from extremes,
Mm.
from right to left and left to right. I like this guy. No, I like her. So we swing from a decision to decision every single day. And that's where paradox comes into play. It says it's neither that nor this. It's something in the middle. It's not black or white. It's gray. So it's embracing that grayness, and that is what this entire life is all about. We have to embrace the grays, and spirituality and is not about the couple of hours we talk here and then we go back and go on with our life doing whatever we do. We have to interweave spirituality into every second of our life. Every second should be dedicated to spirituality, to knowing what is the truth, to connect with the inner self, to connect with that consciousness, with Tao, with universe, with God, with Guru. So it's that connection is what we all are looking for. And once you establish that connection, you are connected to the greater source, the Tao herself. It's everything that you could, all the scriptures, everything, the geometry that's needed to run the universes and parallel verses. I mean, we're not even trying to get to like 0.001% of understanding of what's going on out there in the universe.
Yeah.
With our little brain, we can't process what Tao is, and the best thing to do is surrender. Like, yes. I'm not trying to figure you out. You be you. I know you're there. You're there always to protect me and to take care of me, and that's about it. That's all that matters. And you need to have that kind of surrender.
Well, we have this tendency to look at paradox. Paradox is very much at the center of all of our axioms too. Our axioms do very much come across like the chapters in the Tao Te Ching in a way. And in fact, a couple of them may have been borrowed from that text. But the thing about paradox is it's not a puzzle for us to solve, right? Exactly. It's not something that we need to dissect and say, well, why is this, these things cannot be opposite and still coexist? But the answer is very simple. Both of these things are true at the same time.
Right.
And they must exist that way.
Yep.
So instead of always saying this is the answer, I figured it out. If you think that you've cracked the paradox of the universe, you haven't. There's nothing there.
Yeah, right.
Strength and softness and action and stillness, knowing and not knowing. These are all very much paradoxes, real paradoxes that exist in this universe. And this could be very unsettling for people. It is very unsettling for a lot of people, especially in those cultures that always wants the fast, clean answer to everything and perfectly clear outcomes. But the thing about paradox is that once you, like you said, surrender, you stop fighting it, it actually reveals itself in that much deeper way.
Yep. And everything gets done without doing anything.
That's right.
Everything gets done, and that is the state of Tao. Effortless. That's Wu Wei. That's where we as humans are heading towards. I am seeing we are getting there. I mean, I see all the folks, the creative bunch that's coming up everywhere.
Yeah.
It's very encouraging to see that they're embracing their true self. They're embracing their authenticity. They're not shy anymore to be themselves. They don't want to put themselves in boxes. And I'm so proud. I'm just so proud as a society, as a community, as human beings, how far we've come in this journey. We came with nothing. We came with zero. We came with blank minds. And look at us. Like
Yeah.
we're talking philosophy. We're talking we have beautiful homes that keep us warm, and we've done great as human beings. We really have as a race, to even get here spiritually and all that. It's no matter what happens, if a meteor hits your planet and then everything boom goes and then you rebuild everything. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how resilient human beings are. We have to be proud of ourselves. It is such a proud moment for us to be living in this era where we can truly be ourselves and talk about philosophy. Our human brains have developed these beautiful neurons and that connect with each other, and it's fabulous. I'm very impressed with us. So congratulations to us.
Yeah. When it's like right now, as we talk about the balancing how light and dark, and I mean, we're in this time of awakening. More and more people are waking up to this. And I believe that society, there's this book called The Turnings. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And it's about how society operates in these phases it goes through. And it's pretty much rebuilding all the way to destruction. And every time we go through one of these motions, society builds itself a little closer to unity, a little closer to wholeness. And I think more and more we are heading to an age where spirituality will be at the core. Mental health will be at the core. Where we will have these authentic relationships that, I don't know, it's almost too grandiose to envision, but I think we are on our way to such a beautiful realm, but it's all in these phases of light and dark and harmony and disharmony.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's yeah, it's a beautiful time and space to live and be alive and experience what we are experiencing together, and having this platform to even talk about it, like discuss about this openly, without being judged or without being ridiculed. If I would talk the same would have the same conversation with the other groups that I hang out with, you're crazy, girl. Don't even like what's going on in your head. You need to see someone. Something's wrong with you.
I know that pain all too well.
So it's like, they're living in some kind of delusion, like they're just surrounded by illusion and Maya. It's just, that's everywhere. So how do we take this? It's a lot of responsibility for us to know the truth, really know the truth. And that's where, again, letting go, we cannot force another person's enlightenment.
Yeah.
We have to take a step back there and say, enough is enough. It's your destiny and it's my destiny. And that's where the drama and bringing more people, bringing more lives into our lives does this to us. And that's where I think even marriage is very, very interesting. Like when you get in a relationship with someone, you gotta be so careful who you're bringing in, because that person's gonna change everything. It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's that area is very, very sensitive around who you bring, and if that person doesn't believe in energy, doesn't believe in what you believe in spiritually, that's gonna just mess everything up. So it's important to really have a community and to be able to talk and get the message out there.
Well, for us, we first and foremost believe in the inherent greatness of all things under creation. All things, good and bad. And in fact, we have an axiom of light that says that which had existed before the universe was great. The universe is great. Creation is great. And people are great. And what this helps remind us is that there is an inherent greatness in all things across the board. Without our judgment, without our conditions, without our expectations, it's one of the hardest things for us as human beings who have feelings and relationships and all these things get in the way, all the drama, as you said. Even the most drama-free of us find drama, or it finds us, right?
Yeah.
But we have to remember that in all things there is that inherent greatness inside of each and every one of us.
Yep, we are all the 10,000 things, and then we are one of those 10,000 things. We belong to Tao, and we are very divine. we just don't know. We haven't realized, we haven't connected to that divinity. That's what I would say. Like we are divine. We have to do that work, that inner work, to connect to that divinity within. And that is where I think all of us are stuck, where we're trying to figure out how to get there and what can be done. I mean, you don't even want to expedite it. You don't want to do that, because you're doing that, you're defying the whole purpose of, you just have to go with the flow.
Another one of those
let it
paradoxes,
unfold.
right?
Oh my gosh, well said. Yes, it absolutely is a paradox in
It
itself.
was one I
And
struggled with, I won't deny it. I was like, can I just be healed already? I am sick and
Come
tired
on, I
of
got things to
feeling
do.
this way.
no, I'm God. I can do anything. No, you can't. No, you haven't connected to that inner source. If you were connected, you wouldn't even try to fix yourself. You would be so
Yep.
detached from the body and the soul. Like, whatever happens to the body, nope, I don't care. It's not me. It's
Soul
you.
knows. Yeah, the soul definitely doesn't care. It knows. It
Yeah.
knows better. We're just trying to learn from it. We're trying to get on the same level, align with it, but we always fall just a bit short because that's just the way we're built, right? There's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with being a human being. You will suffer as little or as much as you want.
Yeah.
Yep. Very true.
Suffering
Very
does not
true.
care about us in such a way where it cares about what sex we are or what color we are or where we are, where we're born. Suffering finds us all. But the more we align, the better we can not so much control the suffering, but learn to understand it as a part of us,
Yep.
right? Finding that
Absolutely.
truth.
What's like, I would say suffering is one of the most important ingredients to our lives. Suffering is what causes us to grow. Suffering is what makes us confront our demons. Suffering is one of the most important things we can go through, one of the most sacred times of our lives, because it's in those moments that we truly become greater than we once were.
Yeah. And love gets us through it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Love gets us through it.
Exactly. Yep. And if you're as lucky, you would have someone to hold on to, a religion, or if you have a guru, or if you have some kind of a belief that you can hold on to, that would do wonders, rather than just going solo like Tao or whatever anyone believes. It's just finding that faith, finding that belief. And that's why faith is so important, and that's why we have all this religion, we have all these groups, and it's faith is one of the most important factors, because it doesn't matter what it is, but you're passionate, you pour all that passion into something, and something's gotta work, right? With all that passion and energy and love for whatever looking at, it doesn't matter. It's that source. So it's honoring that source is almost like connecting that source within you. It's the same. It's the ultimate thing to do is to believe in that Tao, believe in that super consciousness, and have that faith.
So you were talking earlier about just wanting to sit down and translate the verses for you to help you learn and understand them. And that comes across in the book. I mean, what we're reading is a piece of you learning the Tao, basically, right?
Yeah.
What stands out? And not to compare, because like you said, there are 1,000 different ways we could see the Tao, but the way that you translated the verses, who is going to benefit most from your translation, would you say? What kinds of folks?
Yep. So like I said, I'm the average Jane. So other average Janes can, and everybody can. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who, because initially when Lao Tzu wrote Tao Te Ching, he wrote it for the government officials. He saw corruption everywhere in the government, and he wanted to go away. He left the dynasty, and he was walking through a path, and that's when the gatekeeper had asked him to write down. He had known he's Lao Tzu. He's got all this wisdom, and he wanted him to write it down in whatever they used to use at the time to write.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had them written down, and that's what is now being talked about as Tao Te Ching. It's those ancient scripts written by Lao Tzu. So Lao Tzu is a mystical figure, right? Nobody knows, nobody has seen him. He's like this grand old grandfather who
Right. He was like the Merlin of the court, right? He was like,
right.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. That's a good one.
yeah.
Justin.
I always pictured him
So,
like a Chinese version of Merlin, just
right?
yeah,
That's a good one. So yeah, he's the mystical character who wrote this amazing verses, and as you go through them, anybody can use it. And I was using it myself. Like when I said I was sitting with them, for instance, when I would practice this at work in the morning, when I see my team group of 20 people on the call, we're all trying to solve something, resolve
mm,
something, get to somewhere. A lot of egos in play. A lot of egos in a team. Like they're not this kind of crowd, right? That's a very
Right.
different kind of crowd that I deal with outside. So they're
Yeah.
right.
the marketing people, finance people. They don't care about spiritual. They don't care about Tao. They don't care about go with the flow. They want work done. They want money. They
Well,
want
there's a
dollars.
that in these kind of structures, there's a pecking order, and everybody's fighting to get to the top. And they'll step
My
on each other, help stab
goodness.
each other,
My
and yeah,
goodness. Yeah,
yeah,
all of that. Yes.
yeah,
Yes, I had to sit through all of that too. So it was a very intense work that I was performing at that time. And then when I sat through Tao Te Ching and when I started practicing my everyday life, like talking to clients, talking to people, like practice, like mean what I was saying and be authentic to myself and truly care for what I was doing and not care about the results of my actions, like be detached from the results and be that instrument from which the divine acts through you. You're not the doer. You're not the you're just there. You're in the end you're just there. You want to get to that stage, and that's when you connect with Tao and you start going with the flow, and then the wu wei happens and effortless action. So
right.
my life in those 2 years that I wrote this book, it's about living in that wu wei. I was doing that effortless action. I didn't feel like I've never written a book. I've never written. I like writing stuff like newsletters, small things, but I've never imagined I would write a book. And I think it is that I was just an instrument in
Well,
letting
now you're an author. How
now
does that feel?
work. I'm now an author. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, yay.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a very difficult concept for people to understand, but here I'll break it down in a much easier way for some, if they're still struggling with how these paradoxes work. A door is larger than the handle, right? A handle's larger than a key, but a key opens the whole house. One key opens the whole house, right?
Yeah.
And all you have to worry about is the key. You don't have to worry about how big the door is, how heavy it is. You just have to worry about finding the key, and you can open the whole place. So
Absolutely.
it is really about taking everything that's so overly complicated and just
Yeah.
existing in as simple of a manner as possible. And being in that simplicity, you will unlock all the doors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically how it works.
Exactly. Like what Steve Jobs says, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Like it's very difficult to keep things simple. Like Apple, I love Apple product. Just the design and the aesthetics is beautiful. It's simple, it's plain, it's elegance. So
I know what you mean.
well,
Yeah,
right, right. A lot of people
you're
don't
an Apple
agree to
guy too.
that, but it's just sleek, it's classy, it's everything that it's all of that. It's because it's simple. It's very simple. So I think that's a very important aspect to Taoism, is being that simple, authentic self. That's all you need to be at any given moment that you're thrown under. You have to make sure that it's an authentic
Mhm.
self is being expressed at that point in time.
Well, that's interesting to say that, because you clearly brought that to how you even structured the book. You have very short chapters, right? Very easy to read for anyone at almost any level, right? You have short little chapters, but they're right to the point. You have a verse, one verse per chapter. You have an explanation, and you point to and explain the paradox. And then you go a couple steps further. It's not only that, but then you say, here's how you can use this paradox and its understanding now and this verse in the real world, no matter where you're at, no matter what you're doing. And then you throw in a daily affirmation.
Thank you. Thank you. You said it so well. I don't think anyone's done this before. I enjoyed every word of it. I think it was my ego. It probably is my ego.
Or unconsciously, you just brought, you were talking about authenticity a minute ago. I believe that you're very authentic. Thank you, Michael. Authentic.
I'm here for you.
In your approach and your application to this path that you've found, because it shows in your work and it shows in your speech and everything. So take us through an example of a chapter that we would encounter that someone would see.
Absolutely. And then when you asked about who this Taoism would apply to, I would say leaders predominantly, and all of us are leaders at some point in our life, right? We are leaders at some phase of our life. We are. So this, I think it was chapter 17 when I was translating. I was going through this really weird team dynamics at work, and there was a lot of layoffs and there's a lot of stuff that were going on, and it was very dark and bitter times, and to just navigate our tough times, and project wasn't going well as well, so to just navigate through all of this, I truly had to embody the Tao. I had to melt myself into Tao to navigate that situation so I could get us all out in full body.
Right.
We were going through really deep times. So it's just being there for others and being able to do this. And this is my version of the story, right? Like I'm talking like I'm a martyr. Like I did all that, So this is my angle. This is my so I was going through this phase. I was sitting through the verse 17, and it talks about leadership, and it says there are 3 types of leaders. The first leader is the one that work behind the scene. The second one is the leader who is who people get scared of him. Like, I don't want to deal with him. I'm just gonna accept whatever he says, and just they're just scared of him. And then the third type of leadership is the ones that are scorned, like they're hated, they're scorned upon. So at that point I was like, what kind of leader do I want to be? Do I want to be the one that is scorned, or that your team is scared of? No, I want to be the one in the background to be able, so in the end my team would say, we did it ourselves, we didn't even need her. So you want to be that shadow, want to be that person in the background. And I, in that phase that I was going through, and that verse that I was sitting with, it just coincided so much of synchronicity at that point, that I was able to write that as one of my chapters and explain through that process as I sat through them. And that's why I believe that Tao Te Ching just acted on my body, like through me, used me as a medium to express itself in the form of the book. I was in that effortless Wu Wei zone where I was just flowing, and things were just flowing to me as I was sitting with each chapter. Things would just unfold in my life that would explain exactly what that chapter was talking about. I was shocked with that kind of synchronicity that was happening every day. It was miracles after miracles after miracles. It has to transform someone, right? When so many things happen to a person within a short frame of time, it just sparked something in me that it just transformed. And that's why I believe Tao Te Ching is one of the most powerful scriptures. I mean, it changed me. It changed the way I look at everything. When I say I am the regular Jane, so I'm pretty. So for me to like really be transformed and to understand, to go deeper into philosophy and paradox and Taoism and life, and I've never heard of Taoism before the incident. So that So for me to be able to go through this journey, another interesting synchronicity that happened was I was talking about my guru, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. So he has a multi-faith prayer that we all used to sing. And the other day I was sitting at the prayer hall, and then it said Rahim and Tao too. That means you are Rahim and you are Tao. And that did not strike me. I've been singing that song since the day I I could sing, and I did not notice that line there says that he is Rahim and he's Tao and he's, so I was okay, that's that's my calling. This is it. Tao is my calling, and I let Tao work itself through me and through this book. So I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful, Justin, that you actually read the book and you are able to lay out what the book was all about. So you did it so well. Even I couldn't have done that. You did it so well.
Something else that I thought was very important, and this comes through very strongly, is the emphasis on accessibility over the mysticism. The mysticism is important deeper underneath Taoism, but you've helped make it more accessible without scaring people away from the mysticism part of it. And you do a good job of not elevating Taoism into something scary or untouchable for people. You made it more accessible.
Right.
You brought it down into these ordinary moments where we actually are, where all of us are living in these everyday actual moments, right? And the other thing too was, and this is after our own hearts, Michael, is that this book is very much more about practice over just the philosophy alone. The philosophy is important, but she brings it in a way where it helps you practice more than getting lost in the philosophy too. So again, it makes it more practical and more accessible to people. In other words, you don't have to agree with every single idea philosophically to get benefit from it. You will find benefit from it anyway. So that was something else that I found to be very powerful and transformative for people, because
well said.
The way you approach it is, some people will introduce the Tao or Christianity or some other system in a way that is confrontational, or that it's I'm ready to debate you now, right? Let's debate, let's argue. But this book it brings us to a point of moving through with less resistance and more trust in what we're learning.
Thank you very much. You said it so well. You gave a different perspective to what I wrote, about what I wrote, because I did not have this perspective. Maybe I did. I don't know. It's all in Tao, and I think we just exchanged these beautiful words, and now we are connected. We all are connected via Tao, and it just proves that. It just proves. I'm flattered and just honored by this presence. Thank you.
Well, the power of intuition and flow, right? When we're able to tap into it, the things that come out are both effortless and just profound.
Absolutely. Things just happen. Synchronicity just happens. Things fall into place. It's magical. And that's why it is so easy, and it is also difficult to do it, to do the surrender. It's very easy to say surrender. It's so difficult to do this. The hardest thing that we'll ever do in this life is to give that final surrender and to go through the ego death. That's the last thing that we would ever do. Because after that, we would be part of Tao. We would be part of that consciousness. We would be one with everything. It's just that the final hold. And also, we don't have a control on when this hold will break off. It is, we don't have that control. We have to surrender. We just have to surrender. I don't know, it may take 1 lifetime, 50 lifetimes, 50,000 million. No, I don't know. I give up. I surrender. You decide when you want to give me that knowledge, because that's Tao's work. That's not our work. The Tao that controls universes and parallel verses, it's duty to let us know when we will receive that information for our final enlightenment. So it's that desire to even get there, that enlightenment in itself is will pull you back from what you want to achieve. And Taoism talks a lot about that too. Just be simple, just be basic. It says go back to the basics, and which is very much what we need now in this society, in this day and time, in this day and time that we live in. We need to go back to basics. We don't need 10,000 choices of toothpaste in our life no more. Just give me a good one. Like a really good one. I don't want those ones with synthetic colors. Just have one. It just makes life much simpler and easier to handle, and we can focus on what truly needs to be decided.
Mm-hmm.
That's a challenge and struggle that we all face every day.
Mm-hmm.
Because we live in a society, unfortunately, and there's only so much isolation that you could go into. And yeah.
Well, it's one of those paradoxes, right? The paradox of choice. You know, they have all these studies of like one of the issues with like Netflix where you have 1,000 shows to pick from is you end up having indecision because there's too many options. Simplicity truly does open a path where it frees up your energy, your bandwidth to retain information and pursue goals and live life.
Exactly. And not worry about those basic things.
And that's another thing I like about the book is how you anchor each lesson with an affirmation, not because they sound cool or that they're these magic words, but because you help anchor that daily lesson for that person in a way that they can ground with it and bring it back to their body.
Absolutely.
So we are approaching the end of the show here. Michael, do you have any closing words today you want to leave folks with?
No, just it's beautiful you're putting this message out there. More people need to embrace paradox. I think ego's number one enemy is lack of control. But the more we surrender, like you've brought up, is the most powerful thing we can bring to our lives because it frees us from the shackles that we create. So many of us are restricted in life by preferences, by concepts that we feel we have to hold to. But when we can go through life to be like the wind, we can go further than we've ever imagined.
And I always like to close these conversations as we do with when we have special guests or it's just Michael and I always like to kind of bring stuff back into the body and to the day-to-day where we're present, because wisdom really only matters when it walks home with you, when it walks with you, when it sits with you, right? And paradox isn't something you study and solve and just move on to the next one and next one. It becomes a companion because it is the truth of this universe. It's something that you don't learn to deal with. It's something you learn to live with. And once you stop trying to resolve every single problem and every tension and every anxiety and every problem, most of which aren't yours anyway, so you shouldn't even worry about them, but life becomes less adversarial. You stop arguing with the reality of the universe, right? And you start deciding how and when you're going to suffer and why it's good for you and things like this. So what Taoism and this book, Embracing Paradox, points toward isn't a withdrawal from life. It's learning to be flexible within it, to be a part of it, to enjoy it for good and for bad. Peace doesn't come from checking out all the time or withdrawing. It comes from staying present without hardening, without finding these fixed positions. So this is why curiosity always matters more than certainty in the end, because especially when we're trying to control certainty, that tends to close things down. It tends to put a shell around us. It tends to harden our hearts. Curiosity keeps the heart open. It allows us to meet life as it, rather than what we do it to be, right? So, and peace often comes from not choosing one side or the other, but from learning how to stand in the middle without fear, something you said earlier, Prashanthi. So, from holding these opposites without turning them into enemies against each other, because they're not. So that's what I got out of today's conversation. Prashanthi, this is your chance to leave our audience with some closing words and tell us where you can find your book and your work.
Absolutely. It's an honor. Thank you, Justin and Mike, for having me here. And to have this platform to get the message out there, because I know a lot of you are out there struggling and trying to, because we all are put in this world where every one of us scattered, and with internet now in play, at least we can connect. We don't have to be physically with each other, but at least we can acknowledge our presence to one another, because it's very important to recognize and know that you're not alone when you're going through these crazy thoughts of shadow work that just happened to you. You're not alone. You have people around that are going through the similar feelings. So what you're going through is valid. So we're all sorry. So that's my confirmation. Wow. Yeah, so it absolutely is, because there are people out there who are looking for support, and tell them that they're not crazy. We're here. Because I thought I was crazy when I was going through all of this work, and I was like, Tao, and this one reality, oneness, like, what is going on? Because when I in my family, we follow our guru, and my grandparents followed the guru, and I had to follow the same guru, but then I started questioning a lot of things my guru did, a lot of things, and why this, why that, and all of that. And I went through this phase of questioning, and now I've come to a stage where I've accepted, because I've got enough proof. I have enough proof that you are my guru. Because the term guru is very loosely used everywhere, because everyone is now a guru, like a spiritual guru. I could be a guru if I want to, but that's not it. It's not. It's guru is God. Is basically your shortcut to God. When you have a guru, he takes you, they take you to places that you can't even dream of. You probably have to go through many, many lives before you get there. So he would shortcut, he would cut off all that density, all that crowd, and he'll take you. And when you find that one, he puts you to trust. It's not your choice that you were accepting someone as guru. That guru has to accept you. That's when you connect and things get done through that guru. And that's the process that I went through when I was sitting with each of the Tao Te Ching. I went through that process of faith, and I landed, was where I am today. It's a very interesting journey, and I hope you all resonate with it, connect with it, and just let me know what you think about it. I would love to have discussions. Honestly, Justin, Mike, like, if you guys finish that book, we would love to have another conversation around how that book resonated with the both of you, and we could definitely have another chat about those topics.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I would love to come back and talk to you guys again.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
It's one of the great things about the Tao. It integrates. It helps us integrate, and we don't have to give up our whole lives to understand it or to follow its wisdom, which is amazing. Which is why it is so awesome. So you can find her book, Embracing Paradise, dive into a mystical adventure with the Tao Te Ching through 81 enchanting micro lessons over at Amazon. And it's available in 2 formats. Are you ever going to put it out on Kindle, or have you decided, or?
No, I've not got the message, or I've not decided yet on how I want to do the ebook. I was thinking about it, but then so another thing I wanted to tell about this book was it was a ritual for me. It was a spiritual ritual for me. Every day sitting with each one of these words was very magical. I had a very safe space where I had my deities, and I had all my gods, and my guru's picture, and Lao Tzu, and I had set up this sanctuary for myself, and I was able to do that. And I could do that because I gave myself. I don't want someone to like do the Kindle on the car, while driving, or while someone's driving. It doesn't matter, but reading the book has to be a spiritual experience, because this Tao Te Ching is one of the greatest scriptures ever. And I also found out that it was one of the most translated books too. I think it's the second most translated after Bible.
Yep.
So wow. It's very popular. How did we not know about? I did not know about this, about Tao Te Ching, until 2 years ago. Like, why?
Because it's synchronicity. It wasn't time until then, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I need to surrender and let this go and accept the fact that all of this came into existence through me and I let this happen. And that's where my responsibility ends. I cut the cord there. What happens afterwards is it's not my problem. It's not my issue. I'm going to stay detached to that feeling.
So as we come to a close, I want to talk to you out there. If you're someone who's feeling curious after this conversation we've had, curious about paradox or about Taoism even, or about how to learn learn to live a little more easily and with more clarity, embracing paradox to me feels like a very approachable place for you to begin. You don't have to dive into the old one and retranslate it maybe later after you read this one, because it really doesn't ask you to adopt a belief system or change who you are. It simply invites you to explore a different relationship with your life, one that's a little less rigid, a little more spacious, and a lot more humane. So, if this conversation resonated, I encourage all of our listeners to approach Taoism the same way the book does, with curiosity rather than expectation. Something we tell you guys all the time, right? You're probably sick of hearing it. You don't need to understand everything right away. You're not meant to understand everything right away. So, yeah, and you don't have to agree with every idea. You just need to be willing to sit with it and see what stirs within. Something will, I promise you. And so, Prashanthi, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us and our listeners today. And yeah, we'd love to have you back at some point.
Thank you so much, Justin.
If we didn't scare you off with this episode.
No, absolutely not. I want to come back because I was like, okay, is this it? I mean, I think we were on a flow and I didn't realize that how the past 1 hour just went by. And this is what happens when we connect with Tao. This is a live example of Tao in action. And this she always shows Tao, right? And Tao shows in action because we were our authentic selves, the three of us here pouring our hearts out. And this is it. I didn't realize it was 8:12. I was like, why is Justin ending it early? He doesn't like me. My mind keeps thinking. And then I looked at the time. Oh gosh, it's 8:09. That's okay. Now we're talking. So sorry.
Well, we thank you guys so much for joining us. You guys out there. Michael, high five. Good job as always. Come on, give it up, man. There you go. Make sure you check out all our socials, the YouTubes, the TikToks, the Facebooks. What else, Michael? Our podcast is on Apple. NewAshla.com. You can find the podcast on Spotify, of course, Apple, Amazon, iHeart, somewhere else, probably anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find our show. So thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, with love and gratitude, ad lucem.
Ad lucem.